When my girlfriend Lila said, "Let's be honest, you're not really my type," it wasn't during a fight or in some heated argument. She said it casually, like it was just a passing thought. We were sitting in her living room, eating takeout, watching some reality show she loved. She didn't even look up from her phone. I remember blinking, a fork halfway to my mouth. "Excuse me?" She laughed a little. "Relax. I mean, you're great. Just not my usual type, you know. You're stable, responsible, kind of serious." She said it like those were flaws, like reliability was a punchline. I forced a smile, but something in me shifted. That sentence kept echoing in my head. Not really my type. I'd been with Lila for nearly 2 years. I supported her when she lost her job, helped her move apartments twice, and even put off a promotion to spend more time together. And still, she made it sound like she was settling. So I took her advice. "Let's be honest." I looked at her and said calmly, "You're right. I'm not your type." She smirked, thinking I was joking. "See? Glad you can admit it." What she didn't realize was that I meant it. The moment she said those words, something in our relationship cracked. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. I suddenly saw every sarcastic comment, every half-hearted apology, every time she made me feel like I should be grateful to have her. I saw it all for what it was, her believing she was out of my league. The funny thing? Her best friend, Chloe, had once told me the opposite. She'd said quietly, "You're too good for Lila, but she'll never realize it." I never thought much about it before. But that night, those words hit differently. Over the next few weeks, Lila started pulling away even more late replies, canceled dates, girls' nights that somehow always ended with her phone off. I didn't chase. I didn't argue. I just let her drift. Meanwhile, Chloe started checking in. Text here, a call there. "You good?" she'd ask. And for the first time, someone seemed genuinely interested in how I was doing, not just what I could do for them. The conversations turned deeper. We talked about music, family, dreams, things Lila had stopped caring about long ago. And little by little, I realized that Chloe didn't just like me. She saw me. By the time Lila finally noticed, it was too late. It was a Saturday when she came over, all smiles, pretending everything was fine. "Hey, I've been thinking," she started. "Maybe we've been overcomplicating things. Let's reset." I just smiled back and said, "That's funny. I was thinking the same thing." But my idea of a reset was very different from hers. The week after Lila suggested a reset, I didn't rush to respond. I told her I'd think about it, and that simple sentence seemed to throw her off balance. She wasn't used to me pausing before jumping at every chance to fix things. Meanwhile, Chloe and I had started talking more frequently. What began as casual check-ins had turned into long, effortless conversations that stretched late into the night. She had this easy laugh that made everything lighter, and unlike Lila, she never made me feel small for caring too much. One evening, I invited Chloe to grab coffee. It was nothing romantic, at least, that's what I told myself. But as we sat across from each other, steam curling from our mugs, there was something unspoken hanging between us. She looked at me, eyes thoughtful, and said quietly, "You know, I always wondered why you put up with the way she talks to you." I chuckled softly. I used to call it loyalty. Now I think it was just fear of being alone. Chloe nodded, her expression soft. "You deserve someone who chooses you without conditions." That line hit me like a gut punch. No one had ever said it to me before, and coming from her, it felt honest. Not flirty, not manipulative, just real. 2 days later, Lila called. Her tone was cheerful, forced. "So, are we grabbing dinner Friday?" I made reservations. I hesitated. "Actually, I've got plans." "With who?" she asked quickly. "A friend," I said simply. The silence on the line stretched just long enough for me to know she wasn't okay with that answer. "Right," she muttered finally. "A friend." When Friday rolled around, I met Chloe again, this time for dinner. We talked for hours, and by the end of the night, it felt impossible to deny what had been growing between us. We didn't cross any lines, but there was a quiet electricity that neither of us could ignore. The next morning, Lila showed up at my apartment unannounced. Her tone was sugary, but her eyes darted everywhere, scanning the room. "I just thought we could talk," she said, setting her purse down. "About what?" I asked. "About us," she said quickly. "You've been distant. I feel like something's changed." I smiled faintly. "You told me I wasn't your type. I just started believing you." That stopped her cold. No. She blinked, clearly not expecting me to throw her words back so calmly. I didn't mean it like that, she stammered. Maybe not, I said, stepping closer. But you said it. And the funny thing is, you were right. We're not a match. She frowned, confusion giving way to defensiveness. What's that supposed to mean? It means I finally found someone who fits, I replied, my voice even. Her jaw tightened. Who? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The silence told her everything. And in that moment, her confidence, her smug certainty finally cracked. For the next few days, things between Lila and me were oddly calm to calm, like the air before a storm. She texted me occasionally, pretending everything was normal, but I could tell she was watching. My social media views suddenly spiked. Every story I posted, every photo I liked, she was there, quietly tracking my moves. Then, one Friday night, Chloe called. So, Lila texted me, she said, her tone hesitant. I sighed. Let me guess she's trying to find out if we've been hanging out. Bingo, Chloe replied. She asked if I'd seen you lately. I didn't answer, but I think she's suspicious. I leaned back on my couch, exhaling slowly. She's not going to like the answer if she ever finds out. Chloe hesitated before saying softly, Do you want her to find out? Her question hung in the air, heavier than it should have been. I realized I didn't want to hide anything. What Chloe and I had wasn't some secret fling born out of revenge. It was connection, genuine, unexpected, and terrifyingly real. That weekend, Chloe and I went out again. Kept it simple. Just a walk by the river and take out at her place. But when she leaned her head on my shoulder, I felt peace. Not the adrenaline rush of drama, not the tension of walking on eggshells, just calm. And in that calm, I realized something. Lila and I had never actually been partners. We'd been performers in a relationship that looked good from the outside but was empty inside. I didn't post about Chloe or make anything public, but word spreads fast. Mutual friends talk. Screenshots fly. It was only a matter of time before Lila connected the dots. The confrontation came on a rainy Thursday. She showed up at my apartment again, hair soaked, fury blazing in her eyes. So it's true, she snapped. You're seeing her? I didn't flinch. I am... Her jaw dropped. My best friend? Are you serious? How long has this been going on? Not long, I said evenly, but long enough for me to realize what I was missing. She let out a bitter laugh. Unbelievable. You're doing this to get back at me, aren't you? I shook my head. No, Lila. I'm doing this because I'm finally being honest like you asked. Her face twisted in frustration. You think she's better than me? Paused, then said quietly, She's just real with me, that's all. For the first time since I'd known her, Lila didn't have a comeback. She stood there, silent, drenched, her confidence unraveling. She tried to say something, anything, but nothing came out. Finally, she turned and walked out without another word. As the door closed, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. It wasn't triumph, it was release. That night, Chloe texted me, Are you okay? I replied, I think I finally am. A week passed before I heard from Lila again, and honestly, I thought she'd moved on. But one evening, just as I was locking up my apartment, I saw her car pull up outside. She stepped out slowly, dressed neatly, makeup perfect like she was trying to recreate the version of herself that first caught my eye. Can we talk? She asked softly, eyes darting to my door. I sighed. Lila, there's nothing left to talk about. Please, she said, her voice trembling just slightly. 5 minutes. I hesitated before finally letting her in. The air between us was thick with awkwardness. She looked around my apartment, noticing a few subtle differences, an extra mug on the counter, a blanket folded on the couch that wasn't hers. Is she staying here? She asked quietly. No, I said. But she's been here. That seemed to sting. She sat down, crossing her legs tightly, like she needed to anchor herself. I've been thinking, she began, and I was wrong. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. About what? About everything, she said, voice cracking. About you not being my type. About pushing you away. You didn't deserve that. I was scared. Of settling. Of growing up. Of losing control. But I miss what we had. Her words might have worked months ago. They might have made me second guess, cling to the ghost of what we once were. But not now. I'd finally seen how it felt to be chosen, not out of convenience, but out of care. "Lila," I said gently, "you don't miss me. You miss the idea of someone who always forgave you." She flinched. "That's not fair." "It's the truth," I replied quietly. "I spent 2 years trying to be enough for you. The one time I stopped trying, you finally noticed me." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, with a shaky laugh, she muttered, "Chloe must love that she won." "This isn't about winning," I said, shaking my head. "No one won. You and I just stopped pretending." Her eyes glistened as she looked at me. "Do you love her?" The question hit hard. I hadn't said the words out loud yet, not even to Chloe. But when I thought about how she listened, how she cared, how she never made me feel small, the answer was clear. "I don't know what the future looks like," I said honestly, "but I know I'm finally happy." Lila stood up, her composure cracking. "She's going to hurt you, you know," she said bitterly. "People like her always do," maybe I said, with a small smile. "But at least with her, I'm not the only one trying." She stared at me for a long time, then turned toward the door. "You'll regret this," she whispered before walking out. I didn't stop her this time. When the door closed behind her, I felt something shift inside. Feel like the last string tying me to the past had finally snapped. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilt. I felt peace. For a few weeks, everything seemed peaceful. Lila had disappeared from my life again, and Chloe and I were finally allowing ourselves to just be. No tension, no games, just two people building something real. But peace never lasts long when jealousy's involved. It started with small things. Chloe would get strange messages from unknown numbers, cryptic lines like, "Be careful who you trust," or, "You don't really know him." At first, we brushed it off as random spam. But when one text came from a local number and mentioned details only Lila would know, Chloe's face went pale. "She's trying to mess with you," I said, anger simmering beneath the surface. Chloe sighed. "I thought she'd moved on." "Guess not." We blocked the numbers, ignored the noise, and kept moving forward. But then it escalated. A mutual friend pulled me aside one afternoon and said, "Hey man, just a heads up, Lila's been talking. She's telling people you cheated on her with Chloe before the breakup." I couldn't help but laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictably cruel. The classic deflection move. When I told Chloe, she looked furious. She's rewriting history to save face. Typical. Still, the rumors spread fast. A few of our old friends distanced themselves, unsure of who to believe. I didn't bother defending myself to everyone. People see what they want to see, but I made sure Chloe knew one thing. "Oh, I don't care what anyone says." I told her one night as we sat on my balcony, "I know the truth. You know the truth. That's enough." She smiled softly, leaning her head against my shoulder. "It is, but it still sucks." And it did. It's not because I wanted Lila's approval, but because it showed how far she'd go to hold on to a story where she was the victim. Then one night, I got a call from Lila herself. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Why are you doing this?" I asked before she could even speak. Her tone was flat. "You embarrass me, and you expect me to just be okay with it?" "I didn't embarrass you," I said calmly. "You did that to yourself," she scoffed. "You think she's any better than me? Wait until she gets bored. You'll see." "Maybe," I said, my patience thin. "But at least if it ends, it'll end honestly." There was silence on the other end. Then she whispered, "You really did love me once, didn't you?" I sighed. "Yeah, but you made it impossible to keep loving you." She hung up without another word. When I told Chloe about it later, she didn't say anything at first. She just took my hand and said, "She's not your problem anymore. Don't let her pull you back." And in that moment, I realized she was right. Lila's chaos didn't belong in my world anymore. But as I'd soon find out, letting go of the past is one thing, watching it try to burn what you've built is another. It happened at a mutual friend's birthday party, a big outdoor gathering that Lila and I were both invited to, though neither of us had planned on seeing the other. Chloe came with me, radiant as ever, and for a while, everything was fine. Music, laughter, people catching up, it actually felt normal again, until I saw Lila across the yard. She froze when our eyes met, then gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I nodded politely, trying to keep things civil. But she wasn't here to be civil. I should have known. Later that night, when a few drinks had lowered everyone's guard, she approached me while Chloe was inside grabbing drinks. "You really replaced me fast, huh?" she said, swirling her wine like she was starring in her own dramatic movie. "I moved on," I replied evenly. "That's what people do." She tilted her head, smirking. "You think she loves you for you?" "Please." She just wanted to prove she could win. Before I could respond, Chloe returned with perfect timing. "Win what?" she asked coolly, placing the drinks down. Lila's confidence faltered for a second, but she recovered fast. "Oh, nothing. Just girl talk." Chloe raised an eyebrow. "Funny, I didn't hear you say anything worth keeping secret." The air grew thick. Few people nearby were already glancing over, sensing tension. Lila crossed her arms. "You really think this is going to last?" "That's enough," I said, stepping in. "You've had your say. Let it go." But she didn't. Instead, she decided to double down, pulling out her phone. "Maybe everyone should see the real you," she said, voice sharp. "You know, the messages you sent while we were still, that's when it happened." One of our mutual friends, Jess, cut in. "Give it a rest, Lila. We all saw your posts. You were cheating before you even moved on. You're just mad he upgraded." The crowd went silent. Lila's face turned pale, and she quickly stuffed her phone back into her purse. Chloe stood there, calm, collected. "You don't need to humiliate yourself trying to make me insecure," she said softly. "I'm not competing with your past. I'm living as present." That line hit harder than anything I could have said. Lila turned and stormed off, muttering something under her breath. But everyone saw the truth now. The whispers that followed weren't about me, they were about her. After that night, she vanished from our social circle for good. The rumors stopped, the calls ended, and peace returned. A few months later, Chloe and I took a small trip together. Somewhere quiet, away from the noise. One night on the balcony, she asked, "Do you ever think about her anymore?" I smiled faintly, only to remind myself what it feels like to finally choose peace over chaos. She leaned against me, laughing softly. "Guess honesty really was your type after all?" And as the ocean breeze brushed past us, I realized something simple but powerful. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about living the kind of life the person who hurt you will never have the peace to enjoy, 'cause truth ages well. Bitterness doesn't. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.